Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. As promised, here is the second of 3 tags that I'm hoping to get done before the end of this weekend. Today we have the Bookish Mount Rushmore tag made by my friend Michael over at Fit to Be Read, and it is fantastic. I've had ideas running through my head ever since his video first went up a couple weeks ago, and I definitely wanted to make sure I did this one. So the first part of this is to tag 2 booktubers you follow who exclusively booktube in just 1 or 2 genres. And so I'm going to tag 2 of my good friends that read a lot of fantasy. I'm going to tag Johanna, who has got a wonderful channel, and then Liam from Liam's Lycaeum. So both of them are considered to be tagged. Question 1A. Within a genre, I'm going to choose fantasy. Which authors are on your all-time Mount Rushmore? And the reason why I had to go with fantasy is because, of course, I couldn't have a Mount Rushmore without J.R.R. Tolkien. But right along with him, we have 3 other fantasy authors. We've got Robin Hobb, Robert E. Howard, and Brandon Sanderson would make up my current Mount Rushmore. 1B. Do you base your choices off of your favorite authors you feel are giants or most legendary, or impactful, or some other criteria, and why? And those 4 are just ones I absolutely enjoy. One of them I've enjoyed for quite some time, that being Tolkien. One I've enjoyed for the last couple of years, Sanderson. And 2 I have fallen in love with in the last year. I used to absolutely love Robin Hobb when I read the Farseer trilogy back when I was a teenager, but never kept up with Hobb since then, and reading the Liveship Traders trilogy just reminded me how much I enjoy her writing. And then reading some Robert E. Howard just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. And so I had to go with ones that I genuinely enjoy. I think all 4 of them have done good parts to help shape the landscape of the fantasy genre, past and present. And so there's quite a legacy for the older authors, and quite a good richness of fantasy out there for the 2 newer ones that are still currently writing. And the fact that you had to pick one genre made it so that I had to do fantasy over sci-fi, even though I've been still very, very much in a science fiction mood lately. But I couldn't tell you beyond one definitively who would be my 4 authors. That one will appear here in a little bit on one of these questions. Question 2A, George Washington is the big dog on the mountain. He was the first U.S. president and, of course, most legendary. Which of your selections falls into this slot? And that is the no-brainer. We've got Papa Tolkien here, taking us home with the Middle Earth and everything else within it. It's an easy one, although one could argue that what Robert E. Howard did was very, very impactful as well for the sword and sorcery genre of everything. Question 2B, from the legendary to you, or longevity angle, who are 4 original channels you have watched since you began watching BookTube? These folks will also be considered tagged by you. So I had to think about some of my first channels, because it's been a while. And the very first channel that brought me in was Rosie Cockshutt. And it was a video, unsurprisingly, about J.R.R. Tolkien and why his writing is so cozy. And that's what really got me in. And then, of course, Michael K. Vaughan. His Read Every Book by challenge helped explode what I was doing. And then 2 folks that I joined along with a very early C.S. Lewis read, Musical Bookworm and Christy Lewis, Dostoevsky in Space. Those 2 gals are just wonderful, and I absolutely love their channels as well. So there's my 4. All 4 of you are tagged. Question 3A, who is your Teddy Roosevelt, the one that carries a big stick, clubs you over the head with mind-blowing storytelling ideas, suspense, or gives you a headache with difficult yet enjoyable writing. And I had a hard time picking which one would fall into this category. And I think I'm going to go with Robin Hobb. And the reason for that is she doesn't write darker fantasy, but some of what she writes can tread into uh, darkness for the characters. She writes really, really magnificent characters and puts them in really, really precarious situations that just force them to really grow and evolve. And her world building, her all of what she does is just magnificent in how it all comes together and how believable it is seeing radical character growths. And the Life Ship Trader series, the character arcs from books 1 to book 3 saw me go from absolutely despising a character in book 1 to having them become one of my favorites by the end of the series, and seeing somebody that you kind of rooted for in book 1 fall to the point where you really love to hate them because they have fallen to the wayside and have gone down a very believable arc that led them to be the villain. She's just, it's magnificent. And the Farseer trilogy, I reread the first book in that a couple of years ago and need to get back to that trilogy again and revisit it. But that is yet another example of just some excellent writing on her part. So tag a booktuber. So this is 3B. Tag a booktuber as an over-the-top personality or very strong opinions on books or bookish topics. And of course, the answer for this could be none other than the Steve Donoghue. Yes, Steve, you are tagged. Because you definitely have very strong opinions on books and bookish topics. Question 4A, Abraham Lincoln, an author who passed too early for you or you wish was still cranking out new incredible writing. And so that is easily going to be the Robert E. Howard, who I believe, if I remember correctly, only lived to the ripe age of around 30. And just imagine what else this guy could have written had he lived another 10 years, 20 years. The wealth of works that he pumped out during his lifetime. And that could have been just the tip of the iceberg. Fantastic author. Tag one booktuber from the north and one from the south. Then let's make them battle. Just kidding. Let's just tag them. So I'm going to tag Tony from an Erudite Adventure for the north and Justin from This Just In from the south. Question 5. Thomas Jefferson is a problematic historical figure. He's been riding high for decades as a revered founding father, but as a more mature society acknowledges his terrible record with slavery and abuse, the jig is up for him. Can you think of a book or an author that was or is revered that is not worthy of the status they enjoy? And this is a trap question. I know who would come to mind immediately for a lot of people talking about fantasy, but I'm going to go with somebody, a different angle here. Somebody that is very highly regarded, highly revered, worshipped by some fantasy lovers, that has absolutely failed to capture me every time I've picked up one of their books. And that's Neil Gaiman. He has never resonated with me. His writing just falls flat. He has good ideas in there, but there's just something about his writing that never pulls me in. And so I always hear people loving on Neil Gaiman and his works, and I have failed time and again to see it when I read his stuff. I will say that the absolute best thing that he has written, in my opinion, so far is Norse mythology. But even that, I'd rather read the original source material than what he provides there, although I do commend him for making it more accessible. I just don't understand Neil Gaiman and what makes him such a heralded author. So 6A, Sacagawea, or the Fifth Head. Historians and tribal leaders wanted to design to feature Sacagawea and pioneers and Western heroes. Who is an author you love in a genre other than the one you went with for question 1? And here we have Ray Bradbury, who is easily, if it was open to any genre, would have been in that 4. And probably would have knocked Brandon Sanderson off of there. But he would be the fifth head that would go on there. And there's no doubt. I mean, the read every book by has just cemented him back in that status of how could I have forgotten how much I enjoy Ray Bradbury and his writing. His short stories are magnificent. Fahrenheit 451 is an absolute masterpiece. Yeah. And then 6B, name or tag a booktuber you follow who not only booktubes, but also writes, or is an author, or vice versa, or an artist. Also, blurb one of their books. And so Jeremy Fee, he is the author of a poetry collection called Eclectic Nightmares, which I read just last month and absolutely enjoyed to pieces. If you enjoy poetry at all, you should pick this up. If you enjoy supporting AuthorTube, you should pick it up because it's fun. It's eclectic, as the name implies, and there will be something in there that probably resonates with you because it covers such a wide range of topics. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't encourage you strongly enough to go and check out his writing. So that is the Bookish Mount Rushmore tag. So thank you, Michael, for creating such a wonderful tag and for retroactively tagging me in it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope that all of the people that I mentioned, who I'm going to try to remember to put all of them in the description down below, will do this tag as well. So thank you, BookTube.